Welcome, everyone, to another episode of What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. We are live in the studio tonight for our annual Gratitude Show. I hope you'll stick with us for the hour. We've got quite a lineup of guests, stories to tell. It's going to be a lot of fun. What's Working is the show that's designed to bring you insights on the trends shaping the workplace, the workforce, and the marketplace. I hope something that I or one of my guests tonight says gives you an idea about how to do something better in your own world. That's the goal and the nature of the show. So our guests this evening, first up will be Michael Ledger. Michael is with Feeding the Gulf Coast. On our annual Gratitude Show, we try to bring in guests that show us a different side of the business world, if you will, a different side of the work that we all do. And Michael will lead us off in the beginning of segment 2, talking about Feeding the Gulf Coast and their status and situation right now. Following Michael in the next segment will be Kelly Qualls. Kelly happens to be an old buddy of mine, and it'll be nice to get her on the microphone. Kelly is with Big Brothers Big Sisters of South Alabama. She'll talk to us about the status of their organization tonight. And the third segment is going to be one that we've never even attempted before, and that is I'm going to get the show producer John Thompson on the other side of the microphone for the first time, and he and I are going to reminisce a little bit about this show. We are now bearing down on 200 episodes, and I know you've heard me say that if you listen to this show frequently. I know you've heard me say that. It's a big watermark, I guess, a high watermark for us in our efforts with this show. And John and I are going to reminisce a little bit about how the show has changed, things that we did well early on, things we did poorly early on, and perhaps what we're looking at in the future. What John doesn't know is I've got a couple surprise announcements for him in segment 3 that is going to make things really interesting for the two of us in the upcoming year. With the 200th episode upcoming, one of the things that I have undertaken is a book. And the book is going to be, it's tentatively titled, The Top 10 Ideas for the First 200 Episodes. And what we're doing is pulling out the best ideas, not the best shows, but the best ideas I've heard as I've done these interviews on the show, and we're organizing them into the book. So we're going to have different ideas. One chapter, for example, how to stay positive in a difficult work environment. These are little lessons that we've learned in the different interviews that I've had. So one would be, for example, how to stay positive in a difficult work environment. Another is how those experts out there seem to manage the details of their business so well. And that's one of the things that this chapter will focus on, is how to manage the details. I've had some great interviews. One with a guy named Ellis Ollinger of Flowerwood Nursery, and the way he controlled the data, the information of his business, immediately made him appear to be, and I know he is, an expert in his business. Another one is Sean Cushing. Sean runs a company, I think it's called Dorm Decor. But as I interviewed her, I watched her spout out all this content without even having to really think too much about it, which reflected an extraordinary expertise. So the book, which I hope is out in late the first quarter, the top 10 ideas from the first 200 episodes. It's not the top 10 episodes, it's ideas. And we've organized them, and I think we've got 7 or 8 chapters polished off right now. Prior to going to our first break, I want to give you a heads up about next week's show. This one I'm very excited about, and this is very much off the beaten path for us. Last year at this time, I was frustrated because I couldn't find a ballerina to interview. I wanted to know what that life is like. These people who make a living dancing as and ballerinas. Well, this year I'm happy to report, next week's show I interviewed 2 of them, Olivia and Mary Thomas McKinnon. They are part of the troupe of the New York City Ballet. They're both from Mobile. They moved to New York at the age of 15 to pursue ballet. They're living there and really, really successful. Prior to going to break, if gratitude is on your mind, I want to thank my friends at Sandifer Wealth Management. They've supported me and this show for the year, and I'm grateful for their support. If you're looking for a caring, kind, concerned group of people to help you out with your financial future, I want you to reach out to Sandifer Wealth Management. You'll find them online. You'll find them where you can get an interactive email opportunity. Reach out to them. They'll reach back. You're listening to What's Working. When we come back from break, I'll have Michael Ledger with me on our annual Gratitude Show. The text line is open, 251-343-0106. Let us know what you think. We'll be right back.
At Spring Hill Toyota, it's just that easy. From our 3-day exchange to free car washes, the benefits of the Spring Hill Advantage make the choice easy to see. We make it easy to own. Every vehicle comes with Toyota Care, plus our no-cost maintenance plan with free tire rotations and oil changes for 4 years. Get peace of mind with free roadside assistance 24/7. And don't forget, it's easy to buy your car 100% online. Visit SpringHillToyota.com today. It's just that easy.
What's Working with Cam Marston is brought to you by Stella Artois Beer. Now offering the purchase of the Stella Artois Chalice, a beautiful stemmed glass with the Stella logo. The purchase of each Stella Artois Chalice provides 5 years of clean water for someone in one of 13 developing countries around the world. Learn more at StellaArtois.com. Stella Artois. Find it wherever fine beer is sold.
A cool thing happened back in '64. That's when Keith Air Conditioning opened their doors.
In my family, turn to the experts is more than a tagline. It's a promise. Every Keith technician is an experienced AC professional, and that saves you money. Speaking of money, how about 0% financing for up to 60 months on installations of new Carrier systems? Keith and Carrier, turn to the experts.
Mobile's leading name in comfort since 1964.
License number 83731.
Think about your home. What do you see? Do you just see 2 stories or the stories of your toddler's first steps? Now think about your car. Do you see an odometer reading or your kids reading in the back seat? Other insurance companies just see a house. They just see a car. But a State Farm agent sees what your home and your car really mean to you. So why not give them the protection they deserve?
You can reach me, State Farm agent Allison Horner, at AllisonHorner.com.
I'm in the studio tonight. Michael Ledger is sitting next to me. He's running Feeding the Gulf Coast and has been in that role since July of 2020. He replaced a local legend named Kathy Pope as the president in that role. Michael's background includes a stint in the United States Navy as an electronics technician, and I know if anything fails in this studio tonight, Michael can jump up and fix it with a piece of baling wire and duct tape. He also owned and ran a wine store in Navarre, Florida. A very diverse background, and told me during the break he was also a rock and roll singer for a while. Michael, thank you for your time. Welcome to What's Working.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Tell me a little bit about Feeding the Gulf Coast. Who are you? What is it you do?
Well, we're a food bank primarily. We collect food from all manner of sources with federal contracts. We partner with retailers such as Walmart, Publix, all manner of retailers in the area, and we collect food from them that they can't sell. We also purchase food, but basically we're getting food from everywhere we can, bringing that food to our food bank, and then distributing that food back out to over 400 partner agencies, as well as using our child nutrition programs and our outreach programs to get food in the hands of those that are facing food insecurity and hunger issues. I'm
curious if these uncertain economic times that we have lived through, some would say we're still in, are you seeing the demand for food spike as much as I can hypothesize? It would seem to me that your services are needed now more than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. We put out a record number of pounds and meals in 2020, over 38 million pounds and 33 million meals, which was far and away a record. And we're going to do something, another big number this year, not quite that number, but we're still going to break 30 million pounds of food, maybe 32 million pounds of food. So the need is still there. It was there before. I mean, we had over 370,000 people facing hunger in our territory, which consists of 24 counties and 22,000 square miles, from basically Panama City, Mexico Beach, where Hurricane Michael hit, all the way to the Louisiana border. That's what our territory is. So hundreds of thousands of people that faced hunger prior to COVID. And then, of course, COVID and 4 hurricanes only served to set people back that were already either facing hunger or on the precipice of it, and set them back further and in the position they find themselves in today.
I'm guessing that in uncertain economic times, the demand for food increases. Does the supply decrease? Are people out there unable to donate as much?
Well, it's been a unique situation. I was referencing Hurricane Michael, which was a very devastating hurricane and very recent in our history. And actually, there's still people. If you go to Mexico Beach or Panama City, you can still see the trees laid over, and they're still cleaning that up. But when that happens, being part of the Feeding America Network, we have 200 sister food banks that can lean in and support us, and they certainly did during that. However, with COVID, all 200 food banks are being stretched to the limits. So you don't have that same kind of support. Of course, Feeding America is supporting us, but the food banks amongst ourselves are each, fighting our own battles. And we also have a situation where the supply and demand has really been affected. So our ability to buy food has been limited. The lead times for food has been stretched a great deal. The freight costs to bring food in is exploded. So yeah, all of that supply chain issues and just the fact that COVID's everywhere for everyone, all of those things really create a much more difficult situation.
So it sounds like it's the perfect storm after a big storm. You've got the COVID storm followed by all these new expenses and inaccessibility. I'm curious, do you buy most of the food that you distribute, or is it donated? You said you bought some.
Yeah, we buy some. We collect also. Of course, folks individually donate food. We have our trucks. You may see them driving through the community, as I mentioned, pulling in the back of Winn-Dixie's, Publix, Walmart's, etc., collecting food they can't use. We bring it back to our warehouse. Volunteers come in and help us sort that food, and then we put that food back out into our agency network. But it's a combination of things. We've purchased more food than we ever have. I mean, we've spent more money on food than probably we would over a 5-year period in just the past year and a half. So we've increased that as well, because it's going to take all of these sources to really meet the need. And I think a situation like this is a lot like I was mentioning Hurricane Michael. The camera crews leave. It's month 2 and it's old news, but people are still there without a home. People are still trying to recover economically, emotionally. And I think COVID's very, very much the same. I mean, even when it seems to wane, people that have been knocked down the ladder 2 or 3 rungs, it's going to take them time to get back up that ladder. And of course, COVID, we're proving again here the past few weeks, we see that it's not going to go away quietly.
I'm thinking now about these communities in Kentucky that were hit by these tornadoes. What do they call it? The big bad tornado or whatever it was. They've nicknamed it already.
Right.
A mile wide, 200 miles per hour. So the question. The tornado comes, it wipes out a community like that. A hurricane comes, it wipes out Mexico Beach. How do you guys marshal your forces? Do you have a plan of action of getting in and setting up the distribution network? You don't just pull over on the side of the road and say, here's food for anybody that needs it. It seems like there must be a system for moving the food out.
Well, we're really proud of the fact that we do have a comprehensive plan. When we were getting ready as Ida was approaching most recently, we were what I was calling yellow alert, and our teams were already meeting, getting our disaster plan out. The teams were prepping. We were making contacts, and we're relied upon by many government agencies, local and federal. They expect the food bank like Feeding the Gulf Coast to be a resource to them. We get called out for missions. So in Florida, we have 3 branches, one in, of course, here, our main branch in Mobile. We also have one in Milton, Florida, and one in Gulfport. And we're very much ingrained in the state. So the last hurricane we had, Sally, that affected Florida, the state would call us and send us on missions, working alongside the Guard to get food out. So yeah, we're working in coordination not only with those folks, but also our independent agencies. So they're the folks with the church on the ground near where it was hit. They can plug us into the community and those folks that are most impacted.
So do you look into the eyes, anybody on your team look into the eyes of people that are receiving the food, or do you hand it off to a church who then hands it to the end user?
Yeah, we do on occasion, and we have some amazing and tear-jerking stories with that. But we very much rely on our network of agencies and our child nutrition programs and our outreach program to be that last mile.
Yeah.
It takes there's 70 or 80 of us to do 22,000 square miles. It takes a lot of partners, a lot of people that give of their time. I mean, I can't say enough about the volunteers and the agencies. These are folks that aren't getting paid to do this work, yet they're pulling up to our dock every week to get food loaded up, take it back to their pantry, and then give that out to people. Or our drivers are out delivering food to pantries, and they're getting it out. So even during COVID, during 2020, when basically people weren't leaving the house, we still had nearly 250,000 hours of volunteerism that was out on hot parking lots handing food out to those in need. I think of Lad Peoples. Literally, it made the national news. It was circled around that parking lot. Every parking lot was gone, and you can imagine how many spots there are.
Sure.
It was just really unbelievable, and we still, at the end, turned people away on that particular day. Fortunately, I think we were able to provide them the next day. But, we can't do that without a lot of folks showing up to help us make that happen.
So the COVID economy has hurt some people. The COVID economy has really done some businesses well. And I've heard stories about businesses that said, I feel somewhat guilty about my business benefiting from this tragedy that's happened to our nation, and they're making moves to give back. They're making, some of them, anonymous donations that I've learned of because they kind of feel bad about benefiting from this large misfortune. Let's say there's somebody out there listening right now who has had a wonderful time due to the COVID economy. Their business has boomed. What do you need? What do you need to tell that person?
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, we need feet. Folks to come out and do the work, work alongside us, whether it be sorting food or we do children backpacks, for example. So we pack those backpacks on site at our facilities. Folks can show up to do that. They can donate funds, of course, and they can just advocate for the work we do and become more aware of hunger. It's an invisible thing, but it's literally 1 in 4 children face hunger in our area. So I always say, you see 4 children, statistically, one of them is going to go home and maybe not have food there. So our job is to try to make sure that kid hits all those milestones and they have the nutrition so that they can grow up to be productive citizens. So anyway, they can support us in feedingthegulfcoast.org.
Yeah.
Is really a place where you can find out. And if you know somebody facing hunger, they can go there, put in a zip code, and find a pantry near them.
Ah, interesting.
They can plug in to volunteerism. And then lastly, they can, of course, donate, which we greatly appreciate.
So what I noticed, when you say donate, you're not talking about donate time. You're talking about them looking around their pantry and saying, here's something that I can give that will help out. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I mean, there's many opportunities to donate food and, of course, funds as well. So we can go buy that next semi-tractor trailer of food if we need to.
Last year during the Christmas season, my wife, my children, and I worked packaging food in your facility, and we found it fun, easy. It was a bonding moment between my family. There were other families there doing the same thing, making it a holiday tradition. It was easy to do, people. It was easy, and it's fun, and a very welcoming environment, a very good training program that got us good at what it is that we were doing there with the food. So it's something to consider. Michael, one more time, tell people how they can find you. If they're suddenly motivated to do something, how can they find you? One more time.
I really think the best way is to go to feedingthegulfcoast.org. And again, there you can figure out how to help someone that's facing hunger by finding a pantry. You can volunteer. I'm really proud of our team. They try to make it a very enriching. It's amazing how much retention people that come out to volunteer want to do it again because they feel so good about the experience. And then lastly, they can donate food or funds. So all of that can be done at feedingthegulfcoast.org.
That's great. Folks, this time of year, I don't need to say this time of year is a year that can be very difficult on some people, and hunger is not something that anybody should face, particularly in a country with the resources that we have. So let's find a way to help out. We're going to go to break now. I'll have Kelly Qualls when we come back. Michael, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for letting us get the word out.
Happy holidays.
Same to you.
We'll be right back.
Paul Lewis, General Manager of Roy Lewis Construction. Many of our commercial buildings you drive by daily on both sides of the bay are the fruits of our client relationship since our beginning in the early 80s. It is our mission to bring value to our clients, from retrofits to ground-up construction and everything in between. We have more advocates than any of our competitors who have been in business twice as long. Same with repeat business. Same with referrals. Find us online at roylewisconstruction.com and let's talk about your next commercial project.
Hi, I'm David Nelson, brewmaster and owner of Braided River Brewing in downtown Mobile. We make drinkable, flavorful craft beer perfect for life on the Gulf Coast. So pick up one of our six-packs before your next adventure or stop by our tap room for a relaxing afternoon with friends. Follow us on social media for the latest beer releases and events and ask for a Braided River at your favorite bars and restaurants. Thanks for your support. We look forward to sharing our beers with you.
This is Cam Marston, and I'm on the phone with Cajun Mike of E3 Termite and Pest Control. Cajun Mike, I was told by many termite companies they're not going to touch a house with spray foam insulation. Then I found you, and you bond the homes that you treat. Tell me how you do this and what your treatment does to the termites.
Basically, I put together an extensive treatment program that allows us to treat homes and allows us to actually treat spray foam with a product that will absorb into the spray foam and protect it from termites harboring in the area or starting an above ground colony. We also, like I say, with our extensive treatment, we put it together and we're able to bond houses just simply by the way we treat it.
It's hard to find a termite company that'll touch a house with spray foam. I know I use you and love it. Tell people how they can find you, Cajun Mike.
They can find me at e3pest.com.
That's the letter E, the number 3, pests.com. Back in the studio, everybody, on our annual live broadcast. The Gratitude Show is what we call it. 3430106 is the number. If you got something to say, a story to tell, a text that you want to send us, 251-3430106. And I sit this evening next to an old friend of mine, Kelly Qualls. Kelly was born and raised in Mobile, has her master's degree in early intervention from the University of Southern Mississippi, worked for Big Brothers, Big Sisters of South Alabama for the past 8 years. Through this work, she's seen life-changing effects of one-to-one mentoring between a positive, caring adult and a child in need of time and attention. Kelly, thank you so much for your time. Welcome to What's Working.
Thanks for having me.
Kelly, you're going to have to actually get near the microphone for this to work. It's lovely of you to be casually and kick back in that chair over there, but I need you. See how close I am?
I see you.
I need you just like that. There you go. There you go.
You need to be taller.
You do need to be taller, but that's okay. We can't change that. Tell us about Big Brothers, Big Sisters of South Alabama.
Well, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, we provide one-to-one mentoring to kids in our community. We find volunteers who just would like to give back to their community with time and attention, and we pair them up with children in our community that just is missing that parental figure or being raised by extended family, could be in the foster care system, or a parent in the military that's been deployed. So we are providing that positive role model, taking a step in their lives that would, normally be fit by another parent.
And how does the pairing of the volunteer with the child work? Is there a matching system, or is it the same one every time? How does that work?
Well, there's a series that we go through in the enrollment process for volunteers and for children, depending on which program, because we have a school-based and a community-based. But with our volunteers, we ask them through a series of questions through the interview process. We do some trainings with them. We talk to their references, whomever they list that could be a positive, person that has, thinks that they would be good with kids, and they share all that information with us. And when we get that information, we also ask our parents, we ask our kids what they're interested in, we share about the program, and then we make sure that everyone is excited about being a part of it. And once we do that, we find some commonalities, maybe some life experiences that each one has had, and then we put them together.
So there are parents out there, there are adults out there that are wondering, maybe I could do this. Maybe I could have an influence on a child. I did a show earlier this year called The Trouble with Boys, or the Boy Crisis, and the lack of parenting models out there that is impacting young men is quite alarming. What happens when a volunteer comes in? Do you teach them how to interact? Perhaps there's somebody that doesn't have children, or their children have left home and they want to give back. Do you teach these volunteers how to interact, or is it just up to them to use their social skills and figure out how to connect with these kids?
Well, we ask them questions about what they think, what do they think that they can offer a child in a mentoring role, and then we go through a training series before we ever match them with a child. But the thing about Big Brothers, Big Sisters is once we do all that, we find a match, we don't let them go by themselves. So every month we have a person's attached to their match, and they call the big, or they see them in person, they call the little, or see them in person, talk to the parents, and then they find out, what's going on in the match relationship. Is there anything that we need to help provide for training, ideas of things to do together? And we do activities once a month with them. We provide that for them that they can come to together. So we provide a lot of support systems for all parties. So the child, the grandparents, the mothers, and then, of course, the adults that are the volunteers.
So I would imagine you always need volunteers. Every volunteer organization always needs volunteers. But let's take the other side. Perhaps there's a parent listening right now that says, my child needs a connection with an adult. There may be some sort of internal family struggle, whatever it may be. You know these stories much better than I do. How would a parent get their child into Big Brothers, Big Sisters?
all you have to do is call us. We are always available. You can go on our website, bbbssa.org. You can call us at 251-344-0536. Either one. And once you go online or you give us a phone call, we're going to reach out to you. We're going to talk to you about what our criteria is to enroll a child in our program. Again, it's usually single-parent households, could be grandparent-led households, or foster care. It's the ones that are missing that parental figure in their lives. And that's really the only criteria that we have. We usually get a lot of boys. That's the ones who've been missing that parental figure. We have a lot of girl volunteers. So we have a back and forth. So a lot of females volunteer and a lot of boys sign up to be mentees. And so what we would love to have is more male mentors step up to the plate, because we have a waiting list for our boys. And then we also want families to think about the girls in their households. Even though there's a single parent mom that's a female in that household, and you've got multiple siblings that you have, well, there is a great opportunity for a volunteer to step in and just provide an extra positive role model for them. So think about your girls too at home. Everybody needs somebody in their corner, and it's so great to have someone that's just outside your family unit providing that positivity.
So what I've noticed about my own household is I have a limited amount of impact on my own children. But another parent, another adult can come in and say something to my children that really inspires them, that
Absolutely.
touches them in a way that I, as their father, they look at me as, I know that old man, he's so full of junk.
Exactly.
But even today, I reached out to one of my neighbor's kids who I learned won a tennis tournament not long ago, and told him how happy I was for him, and he was overjoyed. And I thought his parents probably said something very positive to him, but it didn't resonate. I guess the point being, if you're a parent out there and you say, I already got kids of my own, the impact you can have on another child that's not your own can be very positive. Is that right?
Absolutely. What we do know, I know from my own children too, is, if someone else outside the household will just give some advice or just give them some time and attention to say, hey, you're doing a great job, that goes way further than, a parent in the household, because it's someone outside looking in. And I just think that they take that differently than it is a parent.
I think so too. And I wish I knew how to solve it in my own household, but it sure doesn't work. But I realize the impact I can have on other people's children, and I try to do that in my small little way. Kelly, what you've said reminds me of a conversation I had a couple years ago, going into the Wayback Machine, on this show with a guy named Mark Tubergen. Mark is a financial in the financial industry, but we got him on because his company was championing something called reverse mentoring. They had young people in mentoring the senior executives. And what Mark told me was there is a great fulfillment from being that mentor from both sides of the coin. So I guess the question that I'm coming to is, I can only imagine that some of the adults find this absolutely refreshing. We talk about the needs of the children, helping them out, but I would imagine the rewards from the mentors, from the bigs, is pretty strong too.
Absolutely. If you think about the things that you provide your own children and how you're like, man, this is a great idea, we're going to go do this, and then they're like, yeah, that was fun, that was great. You're like, wait, I put a lot of thought in this, and they're like, mom always does something like that. But when someone outside of your household takes you and does something with you in the community that that's an interest of theirs, it gives you such a good fulfillment. And then we do have a school-based program. So you get to leave work 1 hour once a week, go to a school and get your cup filled with activities and just good conversation and a little kiddo that wants to love on you. It is, when you go back to work, you are so much more productive. And your whole day is just lighter. And what we have found is we have a corporate big program here in Mobile, and what we have found is that the employers are always saying that their attitude, the workers' attitude, is just different when they are involved in that program.
That's wonderful to hear. You told me about what the youth have in common, lots of males, single-parent household. Is there a common thread of your adult volunteers? What do they have in common?
Honestly, there's not. We have, you have to be at least 19 years of age to be a volunteer in our program, and our oldest volunteer is 89.
Get out.
And he goes to school, so it's not like he picks them up in his car and takes them somewhere, but he shows up at school and does activities with the kiddo at school, and it really is just because he loves to have conversation and listen. But there's no commonalities. We do have more females than males males that always volunteers, but our age group that has the most is between 40 and 50. Those are the most volunteers. Most of them have their own households, their own children that they're still providing for, but they know how important it is, and they take time out of their day to do that.
That's very interesting. It's delightful to know that there are people out there. And I did notice that you stared at me kind of hard when you mentioned the need for male volunteers.
Male volunteers can, yes.
There are 3 other males in this room right now that I know are picking up on your messages as well. That they're thinking, we're busy as we can be. Don't have any other time. I promise you, people tend to find time on things that make them feel pretty good about themselves.
Absolutely.
Kelly, if people want to find you, they want to offer themselves, or they've got a child that they feel could benefit from your program, how do they find you?
Well, you can call us 251-344-0536, or you can go to our website. It's bbbssa.org. Either way is fine, and we will reach out to you as soon as you either leave us a message or get one of us on the phone.
So it's bbbssa.org.
That's right. 3 B's, 2 S's, 1 A.
Oh, I love that. That's very catchy. Is this a national organization? This is of South Alabama, I understand.
We're been around 150 years. We are part of a agency, Big Brothers Big Sisters of America, that's across the country in every single state. But we are an agency that serves the South counties of Alabama. There are 7 other counties that serve the rest of the state. And then we're fixing to make a move into South Mississippi, too.
Are you really?
Spring. We're working on that, too.
Good for you. I was about to make a Mississippi joke, but this is not the environment with this content to make a Mississippi joke, but you'll have your hands full there, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
The website again, folks, bbbssa.org. Kelly Qualls is the Vice President of Programs for Big Brothers Big Sisters of South Alabama. She's a great friend of mine. Good to see you again, and I'll see you on the sidelines soon, I suspect.
Absolutely.
We'll be back after this break with show producer John Thompson. You've heard his name before. You'll get to hear what he sounds like in just a minute. We'll be right back.
At Roy Lewis Construction, we're in the business of adding value. Whether it's working with you to meet your unique business needs or making investments in our community in lasting ways, providing unparalleled value and quality in every commercial construction project. When planning your next commercial project, reach out to Roy Lewis Construction. We'll pair you with a designer that best suits your project needs and work with that designer to balance the best architectural outcome with the best budget outcome. Find us online at roylewisconstruction.com, building legacies one relationship at a time.
At Spring Hill Toyota, it's just that easy. From our 3-day exchange to free car washes, the benefits of the Spring Hill Advantage make the choice easy to see. We make it easy to own. Every vehicle comes with Toyota Care, plus our no-cost maintenance plan with free tire rotations and oil changes for 4 years. Get peace of mind with free roadside assistance 24/7. And don't forget, it's easy to buy your car 100% online. Visit SpringHillToyota.com today. It's just that easy.
Think about how people really see you. The kid at the drive-thru just sees a coffee drinker.
Please move forward.
Your local barista sees the person who loves a smiley face in their latte.
See you next time.
It's kind of the same way with insurance. Other insurance companies just see a customer, but a State Farm agent sees more. They see you as a neighbor. Your State Farm agent is here to get to know who you really are, so they can help life go right.
Call me, State Farm agent Allison Horner, in Mobile at 666-1616.
I'm David Nelson, brewmaster and owner of Braided River Brewing. We want beer that goes along no matter where the adventure takes us and that doesn't make us choose between great beer and drinkability. We're drawn to the Delta and united by beer because to us, the best way to celebrate the Delta is to slow down and savor the moments and the beer together. Come visit our tap room in downtown Mobile and ask for us at your favorite bar or restaurant. Visit online at braidedriverbrewing.com.
I'm guessing I've worked with John Thompson for the past 10 years in various ways. He has been an ally of mine, an advocate of mine. He has been a provider of services and expertise. He's kicked me in the tail when I needed a kick in the tail. He's patted me on the back when I deserved it, and even at times when I didn't deserve it. It is safe to say that we would not be approaching the 200th episode like we are, which I think it will be in the first couple of weeks in January, had John not been by my side the whole way through. John, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to What's Working.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So it's been about 10 years that you and I have known each other, I'm guessing. We started this program, I feel like it was in 2018. Is that right?
It's been a while. Yeah, I would say 2018.
Yeah.
We're starting season 5 the first week in January.
Get closer to the microphone, homie. You know this game.
Yeah.
And the first episode, I remember I recorded here in the studio before you and I developed the system that you and I have going now. And it was with the UNC volleyball coach named Joe Segula, who, by the way, is still coaching at UNC. And it was a mess. It was a train wreck. I didn't know anything about how to code the files. I didn't know anything about moving to break. I knew I wanted to do this, but I didn't know how to do it. And it was just a train wreck. Today we got a pretty good system going.
I think so.
Yeah. So tell me your memories of this thing getting started and what you'd like to see it grow into.
It's actually moved along pretty quickly, all things considered. We started, like you said, almost a grassroots campaign. We had heard that it's difficult to just start a radio show from scratch, and I think this being the Gratitude Show, I would say I'm grateful that you have created a show with such tremendous content, and the guests that have been on board, whether they be national level consultants or business owners, local business owners, it's a fantastic program to be at this local level and regional level, and I'm grateful to be a part of it.
Well, I appreciate you say that, and I would be remiss without talking about Sean Sullivan, who's sitting here as our knobs and dials guy, who, when I approached him about this show, he looked at my proposal and he gave me the nod, and it never would have happened, Sean, without your confidence in me and the show, and I've only let you down several hundred times since then, but you still have me back on the show. Folks, what I didn't realize, and this is something that if you live in Mobile and you're a regular consumer of 106.5, how unique it is to have so much local programming, and it's all attributable to Sean Sullivan right here, who wants to continue to make, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Sean, but a local station with local content. So he gave us the nod, John, and we got started, and we're bearing down on 200 episodes.
Yeah.
So when we get to this 200, and there are people out there that have done 1,000 episodes, but
sure,
you and I are approaching 200 after kind of wishing this would work, and it's worked. I love interviewing interviewing people. It scratches an itch that otherwise I wouldn't be able to scratch.
Sure.
My wife loves to tell the story of me being asked to leave the tour at the Biltmore House in North Carolina because I asked too many questions. She said, "Mr. Marston, we're only in the second room. We're already an hour behind schedule. You're going to have to leave the tour." And she loves to tell that story. This show allows me to ask those questions. Yeah. I can see you're full of words tonight. I really want to I want to thank you for contributing the way you are.
I'm waiting for you to cue something up. I was curious on the ride over here today. When I was thinking about how we started, and our show has an unusual format in that, unlike most of the programming here that's live, we pre-tape the show. So we have the ability to do some post-production on it and make it sound a little more polished and shorten it to have the best content available. And I was thinking, when you started this, you had some sort of idea of what this was going to be for you, some sort of dream of being a radio show, radio host, interviewer. And now we are here going on our season 5. And I'm curious where the show is compared to where you thought it might be or what you hoped it would be when we started.
I wish I had brought the email that I got today from a friend of my father's who did not email me because he's a friend of my father's. He just, the way the email read, he wanted to let me know how much he appreciates the content of the show and how much he feels like he's retired now, but he's kind of keeping his finger in the business world by listening to the show. And I do it for things like that, to help people feel like they're, in some way in it. And I don't know what it is. This guy feels like he's still in the workplace because he listens to my show, though he's been retired and he doesn't want to get back in the workplace. He still feels like he's keeping touch. I get people that email me or call me or bump into me on the street that say, you know what, because of that show, I did this. I had another call today going, Cam, because of your show, I have selected these guys to do this termite treatment because of the way you got Cajun Mike to get in there and talk about his stuff. So it's the help that the show tends to provide. Now, I would be a fool to say if it's going to grow, if I don't want it to grow. And as you know, we've begun a campaign to take the show statewide. We want a Alabama-focused business show, which doesn't exist right now. But I've also learned breaking into new markets ain't easy. And they're not going to scramble their lineup for a guy that says, hey, I got a pretty good idea. They're going to want proof of the pudding. And Sean has been very gracious in endorsing the show for that reason. So growth, absolutely. Growth across the state? Absolutely. Can you imagine the guests that we could get in the Huntsville area?
I think for folks that are listening to the show, there's a benefit for anyone, whether it be an educational factor from some of the consultants you've had on the show or some sort of inspiration for small businesses that have opened up, whether they've started franchising or they've had their grassroots campaigns to start their food trucks and their their boutiques and all these different things that they've done. I'm thinking of the Ice Pop folks at
Pop Brothers over in
Gulfport. But at the same time, where a lot of business shows are very, money focused and business, this is a very narrative driven, the story of where they come from and how they got to where they are. So there's a takeaway for anybody listening to the show. I think that's a great component of what we do. And I've always enjoyed it. But with that said, you didn't actually answer my question, which was, when you had your dream to start a show and where we are now, how does that differ at all? I'm just curious of what you thought the show would be and what we've become.
I think the
does
show
it differ? Is no, what you hoped it'd be?
Right now, it's what I had hoped it would be, quite frankly. It's what I'd hoped it to be. But the challenge that I put to myself when I began this was, can I do this? It wasn't, can I make a successful show that goes on 200 episodes, or can I make a statewide radio show? It's, I wonder if I can do this, because I am a huge fan of a well-conducted interview. And I find myself screaming at the television when I'm watching someone being interviewed saying, oh my gosh, you missed the layup question. There's meat left on that bone. Right. How could you, I'm screaming at the interviewer, how could you let him or her away without asking that follow-up?
Now that you've done it so much, you can see how tricky it might be.
Well, you're
that sort of thing, right?
And I'm no expert here, but you're listening to the answer, trying to queue up your next question at the same time, trying to keep in mind the timing and all that other stuff, and trying not to say the wrong thing, or it's a little bit trickier than I thought. I'm sitting next to Sean, who's done this. He does this in his sleep. He does these types of things, but it's a mental gymnastics for a guy like me to be in the moment trying to conduct that interview. So I told you I had some surprise things.
Yeah, lay it on me.
So I got an email from a friend of mine today who said, I'm in for the next 6 months. We've picked up a new advertiser.
Excellent.
As we continue, I tell people, this is our listener is a 45-year-old or older male, generally, in an influencer position in his business. And that is a sweet market for a talk radio station. That's who they want. And that's who my advertisers are coming after. Sure. So I had a guy, the ink is not signed, so I'm not going to say exactly who it is yet. I don't want to jinx it. But I also had a Zoom call today, and I think we have a presenting sponsor. In addition to this advertiser, excellent, a presenting sponsor beginning in January out of Tuscaloosa.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people realize that in addition to what we've been talking about, the learning process to find the proper guests for the show and asking the proper questions for the show, it's finding sponsors who believe in the content and believe in the show and buy into it so they can be attached to something like this.
Yeah.
And that's tricky.
Well, I've learned some lessons.
Really good ones that have been along for the ride, but
I've had some sponsors, and I've learned this lesson. And I think people in the business should have taught me this. Well, I should have listened to their lessons a long time ago. But their ad would run, and then they would look at their phone and go, "Hey, my ad just ran. The phone needs to be ringing. I need to be getting new business." And I'm like, "Hey, it doesn't work that way.
That's right.
It's about awareness, about frequency." And they pulled out. They said, I'm not sure anything's happening as a result of my sponsorship. You're looking for instant results. You want instant gratification from a 30-second spot, and we're going to run them twice an hour, so you want at least 4 phone calls an hour of new business. It doesn't work that way. But I finally found some advertisers who say, yeah, I understand. They knew it. The advertisers knew it before I did. This is the long game, and it's an awareness program.
And it's being associated with this level of content.
Yeah. So, what we're trying to do is continue to provide a little bit of strong, interesting content that will appeal to everybody. Now, John, one of the coaching pieces of advice you've given me, and I'd like to hear you expand on this a little bit, perhaps when we come back from break. And that is, Cam, you've said, I think we can pick up a different gender. There's a female listener out there that if you can ask a different type of question may appeal. Now, there's certainly female listeners out there right now, but we can draw in a new market if we begin to tell a different type of story. Let's think about that, what that would sound like when we go to break, after we come back from break, rather.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're listening to the annual Gratitude Show, folks. We do this once a year. It's live. You can text us your thoughts at 343-0106. You got to add the 251 these days, 251-343-0106. Let me know what you think. We're always looking for new guests. We've got a lot of people out there that want it for self-promotion, and those people are craving seekers of attention. But if you have an idea of somebody that's got a good story to tell and a remarkable business, we want those introductions. So give us a call or text us. Let me know what you think, or you can email me directly, Cam, C-A-M, at cammarston.com. We'll be back after this break. This is Cam Marston. The Keith family's provided service to my heating and cooling system since my family and I moved into our home 12 years ago. And today, Keith Air Conditioning offers 0% financing for up to 60 months on new installations, making a new heating or cooling system for your home even easier to come by. Give them a call or find them online and let them come work their magic. Keith and Carrier. Turn to the experts.
What's Working with Cam Marston is brought to you by Stella Artois Beer. Stella Artois is a perfect beer for celebration. Nothing caps off a big sale, hitting your incentive goals, or a profitable quarter like a round of Stella's. Brewed first in 1708 as a special Christmas brew, today Stella is a gift for everyone to enjoy year-round. Stella Artois. Find it wherever fine beer is sold.
This is Cam Marston with Cajun Mike of E3 Termite and Pest Control. Cajun Mike, houses on pilings can have termites eat their way up inside the piling and enter the house. The homeowner never knows about it, but your company offers protection. Tell me about that.
Yeah, Cam. Basically, what we have designed is a program, and what we do is we will actually drill to the center of the piling and put a product in the center that will stop the termites from coming up into the home.
Stucco exteriors as well?
Correct.
How can people find you, Cajun Mike?
They can find me at e3pest.com.
That's the letter E, the number 3, pest.com.
When you make the right decision, it feels good, like picking the perfect accent rug or choosing a good night's sleep over an all-night crime show binge. It feels really good to make the right insurance decision, too. I'm State Farm Agent Allison Horner, and that's why I'm right here in Mobile to help you select the right protection at the right price. I'll make sure you understand your State Farm coverages so you'll know what to expect if the unexpected happens. With me as your State Farm agent, it's easy to make the right choice. You can come by, call, or click AllisonHorner.com. When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
John Thompson is the producer of What's Working with Cam Marston. He's in the studio with me with our annual live gratitude show. Text us your questions, send us your thoughts, 251-343-0106. Always curious what you're thinking and who's listening, quite frankly. John, prior to the break, you and I were talking a little bit about the idea of picking up a female listener, changing the questions a little bit. Elaborate on that for me.
Well, I just think that, we assume that the listener is going to be male based on the demographics of the show, but the truth is, in business, in any type of business, whether we're talking about the educational component or the business side of it, there are a lot of females listening to these programs, and the information needs to cater to everyone listening. Not only cater to everyone listening, there's a lot of folks out there who maybe could benefit from it that we don't take into consideration sometimes because this is for business-oriented folks, but maybe there's people looking to get into a business or find a new job, and they might benefit from information on what might might be the next step for them to get in front of these people that we speak to. So it's kind of a learning process for us, I think, on how to speak to a wider audience based on what we do. But at the same time, there's a lot of people who can benefit from the content of the show.
So there's a business theory that says you take a rifled approach, a very narrow rifled approach. Another business theory is you take a shotgun approach, a scattered approach. What you're asking is that the show kind of evolve from a very rifled approach to perhaps a larger rifled approach, not a shotgun
not a
approach.
Shotgun approach.
Yeah.
And maybe not at any given time. Maybe it's the rifled approach in one direction and then a rifled approach in another direction at a different time. It doesn't always have to be across the board. But what I think is there's a wider audience that can benefit from the content. And I may not have known that early on, but now that we've had these nearly 200 episodes, the content varies wildly, whether it's, like I said, smaller businesses or consultants or, big national groups. So there's a lot of information that someone can take away, and I don't think we should just have a razor sharp point on who we're sending it to.
Yeah, I think it's a legitimate request. It's a legitimate idea there. And it will require some training, some new discipline from me to recognize the opportunity to ask the broader question versus the narrow question. And I'm kind of found a groove, and it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks.
No, it's always time to evolve. Change is good.
Change is good, which leads me into the upcoming year. Anything different you'd like to see out of the show?
Well, you mentioned to folks that we're attempting to go statewide with the show, and I think that is a remarkable jump for what we've been doing. It's 4 years now in the making, so to speak, and going statewide gives us the opportunity to feature more businesses outside of the Mobile area. It gives us the capability of hitting more markets, which is great. So that's going to be a learning process all on its own. So while I say, hey, we can evolve in all these different things, just learning to spread the word to different parts of the state is going to be a big learning curve for us. But it's a great thing to work for.
Oh, I think it is too. And it really piques my interest to see if we can do it. And it's kind of the thing that got me through the doors of this studio the first time, which is I wonder if I can do this. Now the question is, I wonder if we can make this a statewide show, because there are ample businesses in this listening area that we could feature for the rest of our lives who have wonderful stories to tell. There are, I think, just as many across the state. And I keep thinking about Huntsville and the technology available businesses there, and the rocketry there, and the military industrial complex that use Huntsville. I just feel like there's a lot of stories from that area that I want to hear.
And while you think I want to hear from those businesses, I think there are people in those parts of the state that will benefit from this content.
Yeah.
So I see it both ways. Yes, we're bringing in new businesses that can be part of the show, but at the same time, I think this content is very unique in that it's story driven.
Yeah.
And it's so, varied in what it is, and I think people all over the state can benefit from it.
I perhaps am remiss in, as I go about the interviews, in not asking enough, quote unquote, I'm using air quotes here, people, business questions. Tell me about your P&L. How was, what percent growth did you have this year over last, and things of that nature, which frankly bore me to death.
I think it makes your show more exceptional.
Bore me to tears.
Because it doesn't have that. Yeah.
Because when I'm watching CNBC or whatever it may be, I can't. It's just not interesting to me. But a storyteller, my goodness, we've been sitting around campfires telling stories for a long time.
I think that's why you're coming up on 200 episodes.
Yeah, maybe you're right. John, we're going to close this episode out. It's the annual Gratitude Show. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
It's been a lot of fun.
I'm grateful for being a part of it.
And if you say, I'm done, I'm out of here, I'm quitting, I'm leaving, I'm never doing this again, the show will probably go away. That's it, everybody. Have a good week. The McKinnon Sisters Ballerinas next week.